I thought I'd go ahead and give you guys an update, talk to you a little bit about what's going on. So I'm sitting over here in the parking lot ready to go over to a hotel for the night. We got a lot of real difficult decisions that we've been trying to make and making calls about it. And Smitty right now is sitting up on a rack over there in one of those bays right now. It's the far right bay. And where we stand right now is we got an update on a minimum of what's wrong with Smitty. And she blew out the final drive, totally shredded it, shrapnel in there. We don't know how bad the shrapnel is, but it definitely totally stripped out the CV axle where it connects into the final drive on both sides. So both axles absolutely have to be replaced. The final drive, also known as a differential, when they're on rear wheel drive vehicles instead of on front wheel drive, I think I've heard people refer to it as a rear end, right? But anyways, that absolutely has to be replaced. And I found out from some experts with the GMCs, most of the time, almost to the point where it's almost always, when you have one of the final drives, basically shatter like ours did, it ends up taking out the transmission as well. So we're probably sitting in a place where we would have to replace the differential, the transmission, and 2 CV axles, which is quite a bit and quite a bit of money. And what we're having to analyze right now is what to do about it. So first of all, if we're looking at having to replace the transmission, which is almost always the case, some rare cases it's not, but it's almost always the case, we're looking at laying out probably $4,500, maybe even as much as $5,000, with labor, all the parts, doing it how you would want to do it to make sure the coach was perfect and you could be confident with those parts of the coach. Having a rebuilt transmission done by the #1 expert, and he's actually not that expensive, so it's not like we're overpaying for it. He's one of the cheaper people, and he rebuilds them more heavy duty, and everybody in the community really likes him. So it's he goes by, his trannies go by what's called Manny trannies. Also, we'd need to have a differential out and a couple of axles. The axles aren't as big of a deal. They're not easy to find, but there's folks that have them. The differentials, there don't seem to be a lot of them out there, and I can't just go and show up to any old junkyard and pull it off of it. One reason is simply because I got to match the right drive. So it has to be a 307. I can't do like a 273. I mean, I could go to a 321 or a 342 if I had, which is actually preferred out there, but that's if I had an expert that was working on it, and well, the shops here aren't experts on it. So we got some really tough decisions to make right now, because the only way we know it's the transmission, because the only way that we know whether the transmission is gone or not is basically to start tearing into it and to pull off the final drive and everything from that perspective and gain a look at it from there. And that's going to be a substantial cost just to know where we sit. And once we pull it off, it's not like we can then say, oh, well, we don't want to do that now. The money's already missing. So we're having to debate with, how do we want to look at this? Do we want to make our decision strictly based on what happens, say 95% of the time when one of these final drives kind of shatter like this, and say, okay, the transmission's bad too, and just start from the beginning, order a transmission to be rebuilt, the differential, have it bolted on, have it all together, so these guys, all they have to do is pull this out and put it back in, you know. And we're, you know, if we do that, like I said, we're looking at probably close to $4,500. Or do we have them go ahead and tear into it, pull off the differential, and find out whether we have that going on or not, and be out that money no matter what our decision ends up being? So we're looking at still needing to get out 1,200 miles. So it's not smart to do it halfway. Not that it's smart to ever do it halfway. And we're already looking at wanting to sell it. So we're having to debate and make a decision on basically 3 scenarios. Go ahead and tear into it. Be out the money and labor for that in the first place. Just be out that amount, and it's gone if we don't want to move forward. But at least then we know we're making the decision based on absolute facts. Or do we want to make our decisions strictly based on it all needs to be replaced, which the probability that that's the case is almost 100% from what I'm being told from more than one source that know the GMC line pretty well. Or do we want to basically take Smitty, ship her out, have her placed in the spot that we're going to have our hookups for our new job, and basically put our money together to try to do the work out there, you know, when we have more money to go ahead and do it.
Pay $2,500 the shipping, right?
Yeah, pay $2,500 to ship it out there, which is pretty spendy, especially if we end up into $4,500 plus $2,500. You know, now we're getting really close to what Smitty's value probably really is. We're getting close to that, and it's really hard to think of this since we were so invested in her, in some ways pretty much emotionally, right, in her, and all the money that's already been invested in her. We have the other option of basically just trying to sell her in the condition she's in, take that money, the money that we would have to go ahead and fix her, you know, and buy a trailer to have put out there so we can go to our next job, get that knocked out, you know, because I looked around here and the job market, my skills, having a degree in biochemistry, are not a great fit here in this area of Amarillo. So it's not like we can just, you know, fix her, find a place to stay here and get a better paying job and I can get everything square again.
No, yeah, and we signed the contracts, everything.
Yeah, they already are counting on us. We're 3 weeks from having to even start, right? So it's not a great way to go and handle what could be a really nice opportunity for us in the work camping arena. You know, it's not something we want to lose out on. So we have that decision to make. If we did fix everything now, one of the big problems with going that route, which is what we were first thinking in our minds, is we can't get the parts that we need, you know, the rebuilt transmission, the final drive and the axles, all of that shipped here until after the 12th of September, and we have to be to training on the 21st of September. So that would be only 9 days, and that's the date it would be able to be shipped. So it's going to be at least 2 to 3 days just to get out here. There's a weekend in there. The shop here is not going to work on the weekend. And then, you know, the time to drive back out to California. So it just doesn't look good for that. That doesn't look like we can even make it fixing her.
Yeah.
So
all the possibilities are like heading to getting rid of Smitty.
Yeah. It. You know, there's a principle in economics. I had a double major in biochemistry and applied economics, and there's a principle known as sunk costs. And that principle is it doesn't matter how much you've invested in a business or a transaction if it looks like it's not a good proposition to move forward at the very point you are right now, not taking into account anything you've done in the past with it. It's something that you need to cut loose from. And that tends to be a very difficult principle to tie into your decision making. But I want to make sure that we're making the right decision. We have a lot of thinking to do.
Maybe people can give some suggestion, right?
I mean, you can, yeah. If you guys have something that maybe we haven't thought of, please put it in the comments. Please share with us. We would be very open to hearing your suggestions, but that's where we stand. We'll know a little bit more exactly where costs on everything is with shipping and everything is here shortly. We got to make the decision in the next couple of days. So, yeah, it's not a fun decision to make. None of the choices are really good ones.
Well, just like people can send us good vibes for us to make the best one, right?
Yeah, we want to make sure it's the best decision. So, you know, send us positive energies and stuff. So, but anyways, that's all I really have to say. And we're gonna go and crash for the night.
Good night.
It's been a stressful day. Get out there, connect with people, live your big story.
Make sure you do something every single day to reduce world suck.
Peace, guys.
Peace and love.
Without you, my friend, can I tell you all